Woohoo! Welcome to Hopping on Live 365 post paragliding. How unreal. Oh my goodness, it was so unreal. I know I've come to you twice before today, but you know, this was a big thing for me. And it was just the most amazing experience. It was so surreal. But you know what's so incredible, and I absolutely love life for this very reason, is there's so much symbolism in everything. And so, you know, when I did my paraglide, when I ran off the mountain with Matteo behind me, thank God, and we just floated and glided and twirled with all the other birds. It was wonderful. I haven't looked at the footage yet. I definitely, it was all filmed, lots of pictures and all that sort of stuff. So we'll bring all of that tomorrow. But let me share some really powerful lessons and just the brilliance of the whole experience. You know, just twirling like a bird. You know, there's these birds that they call chakalakas. I don't know what their real names are, but they, you know, they're called chakalakas because they make a chakalaka-laka type, you know, noise. And have forever been seeing them, you know, like, they're like actually when you go diving and you see the tornadoing barracudas, but not so dense, but all the birds were just, you know, spinning on the thermals. And so we got into that pattern as well. And so we had some below us, but above us and beside us. And, you know, there's just nothing else but the sound of the breeze as you soar around. It was amazing. So I want to share 6 really important ahas that I had when I touched down. You know, I hope, you know, let me know if they resonate with you. They were really powerful for me. And the first thing I think was that I was really shocked and surprised. I had no fear, no nervousness, no anxiety. I had, on the way on the bus, I had a tiny little flutter of butterflies, but that passed momentarily. You know, I could feel the stirrings inside, but then, yeah, that was only about 5 minutes. And normally, look, I used to have a fear of heights and I used to get vertigo. So, hey. But yeah, it was just my heart. You know, my heart had just held such a strong knowing, you know, and this is, you know, the first point is the no fear. When you're so deeply anchored into your own heart and knowing and the love that is you, and the love of life, it's like, it's just a seamless next step. You know, there was nothing to be anxious about, because when you're in that space, and, you know, I think that's one of the other factors that I want to point out, was, you know, trusting your intuition. My intuition spoke to me around this. I was having a convo with one of my besties, Ali, and, you know, I'd been in a funk for the last couple of weeks, and had revisited some dark, gnarly space that I had been in, you know, when I was in deep depression in my early 40s after I left corporate. And, you know, my whole corporate identity was being broken down. And that's, you know, that was the whole depression process. But anyway, that's a different day. You know, she said, what do you really want to do? What are you really passionate about? Don't think about it. Just close your eyes and tell me the first word that comes into your mind. And I said, fly. And, you know, I'd always had a passion for flying, as in aircrafty things, but that didn't feel right. And then the following day when I was looking, I saw paragliding, and I thought, that's what I want to do. I want to fly. And, you know, I do actually, there's another aspect to the whole fly, because fly for me is an acronym, FLI, for the love of you. And for the love of you, fly, you know. So when you develop a strong sense of who you are and your own self-love, and you're anchored in your heart, you fly, and fear is just a non-event. You know, I was so expecting to have, you know, my heart in my mouth, my guts almost liquefying you know, nausea and all of that. Nada, nothing, not a thing. It was just, yeah, come on, let's do this. Come on, cloud, clear, because, you know, we had this low cloud cover, and I so wanted that too, because during the flight, we got to glide in and out of the cloud, which was pretty special too. So, you know, we were flying blind and just twirling around, which was gorgeous. So yeah, I think, you know, the first learning for me was that when you are, well, first learning is to trust your intuition. When it speaks to you, do it. You know, just follow it. Don't think about it. It knows best. So trust your intuition and follow it. I do that as a zealot, you know, in my nomadic life, but I've got to do it more in my creative and work life. So that really anchored that experience for me today. The second thing is that, you know, the power of being anchored in your heart, the power of your heart to harmonize everything, heart, mind, body, and soul. When you're anchored in that, that can dispel fear, nervousness, anxiety. So that's my second point. You know, I had no fear. It was incredible. And I think that the other aspect of the no fear was it really validated for me that, you know, how far I've come in terms of my courage zone. And, you know, I love this. You know, I used to actually have a judgment on the comfort zone, and I read this quote, I can't remember it, but, you know, you have to choose between comfort or courage, you know, Brené Brown says. And, you know, I've realized that that's utter rubbish, because what happens is the more you step in and choose your courage zone, and you step into your courage zone, it actually friggin' grows your comfort zone so massively. And that's what I saw today. When we ran off that mountain full pelt, you know, and the harness, it's kind of funny. Like, there was next to no instruction. Typical South America. My instructions sort of happened like when we were coming into land. He said, lift your feet. I said, is that all I have to do? He goes, yes, just lift your feet. And it was, you know, they say you get a safety briefing, but, you know, the safety briefing is, you know, trust your pilot. It's kind of funny. Oh, I do love it. I do love it. But, yeah, so, you know, we just ran full pelt, and that's, you know, that was what I was told. You just got to run. Don't sit until you're in the air. And then you just sit back into your harness, which is almost falling off you at the time when you're running, and you feel like you're wearing these baggy overalls that are like about to fall off. But you just friggin' run full pelt off the edge, and then the wind just picks you up. And, which brings me to, you know, I think, you know, the third point is that I have had such a big judgment over the last 2 weeks of revolving and turning back up. So this is like third and fourth point, revolving and coming back to the same point. And today was just the most beautiful metaphor, because initially they said with the winds, we were going to jump off and then land downtown, right? But then the winds changed, and so they were building and moving us up. And so we just played on the thermals, and we were just twirling around. We were revolving, right? And for the last couple of weeks, I have been judging so much about my own revolving. But because I was in it, and like I was today, I didn't have the perspective until I looked out, because I was kind of looking... I was kind of just looking and being caught up in the swirl, which was magnificent, the revolving and all of that. And plus I had the GoPro. Because I was in the eye of it, I didn't realize I was ascending. So I was actually evolving. And so when I look back over the last 2 weeks of what I perceived and judged as revolving, I was actually going through an amazing ascension process, which had been catalyzed by the wonderful work that I did, the soul-led work that I did with Lisa Nadler. Remember, I can't remember which session it was, but I told you I had a beautiful soul session that was gifted to me for my birthday by Ali. And that has really catalyzed such a big expansion point, which is like my fifth point, around in my heart and soul. And part of the process that I was going through in the last couple of weeks was my physical body catching up, because it was still being tethered by some of the residual stories and emotions and energy. Because remember, emotions are just energy in motion, and sometimes we hold them, and even though we release them from our energy body, the stagnant energy can get stuck in our physical body. And it was really incredible, because on the bus on the way up, I was feeling into all the tightness around my neck and, you know, in my elbows and in weird places, my jaw, my neck, you know, shoulder blades and all that sort of stuff, wrists as well. And so I was doing little, you know, release and stretching works on the bus. And every time I did some breath work into that space and I moved that space, I felt this amazing release of stagnant energy through these massive yawns. I had about 50 yawns, and it got nothing to do with tiredness. It's kind of interesting when you do all the work with, you know, the horses. One of their biggest energy releases is yawning, you know, yawning and rolling and all that sort of stuff is resetting. And I could feel all the different parts of my body releasing and resetting, getting rid of it. And so it was like, this is the catch up of the physical body. It was going through a dumping process. Well, it was, first of all, the last couple of weeks, all this stuff was bubbling up to the surface because it's got to come out. It's a bit like, you know, when you go on a detox and you feel really icky because when you flush your system, all the toxicity is coming out of your organs into your bloodstream. So you go whoosh. And you sort of think, well, hey, is this what getting healthy is all about? You know, I feel worse. But it's just the flushing process. And that happens with residual, sluggish, old memories and energies and stories and all of that. And so how beautiful is this, is that the adrenaline rush and the whole significance, the symbolism of jumping off and running off a mountain. I was stepping off one woman and landing another version of me, a lighter, brighter, you know, more open-hearted and grounded, funnily enough. I was more grounded up there than I had felt in the last couple of days. I felt more in the stratosphere in the last couple of days than when I was flying and I didn't have, you know, my feet on Pachamama, you know, on Mother Earth. So some really cool lessons, but, you know, I do love that whole revolving thing. And because you're in it, you don't realize you're actually evolving, you're ascending. That was such a powerful aha for me. And the second part to that, like the sort of the fourth part, well, actually I'm confused which numbers I'm up to. I know there's 6 points, is that I landed back at the same spot. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I certainly judge when I keep coming back to the same spot, you know. I often have a little judgment about, oh, you're here again. You're evolving. You're here again. But hey, what a beautiful metaphor. You take off, you ascend, you have a wonderful experience, a journey. You create a memory, something experiential that shifts and evolves and moves you or gives you the opportunity to extract wisdom. You know, you go off on a journey and you come back to the same place. And we often judge that as being stuck or going backwards. No. I'm never doing that again. I'm just going to think of paragliding. I went off. I had the most delightful experience. I got some massive wisdom. It fed my heart and soul. I got to fly with the birds. I got to fly. And I came back to the same spot. I am never holding that judgment or story again. That is gone. And it's so powerful. So I hope some of these resonate with you. I don't know if I've got everything. I think I touched on it in that I felt more grounded up in the air than I had for the last couple of weeks because I felt like I was in the stratosphere. And that's kind of interesting because, you know what? I thought I was probably going to be really pumped. My energy is soaring. But I'm not hypo. My energies aren't in ecstasy mode. I am so grounded with it and anchored. Oh, that was the other point I want to tell you. I was so grounded and anchored in my heart and yet expanded from a soul and an energy space. I felt like it was such a surreal experience, the oneness, the connectedness, you know. I felt the air around me and the air within me, and then I was the air, you know. I saw the birds outside of me, but then I could feel the bird within me, you know, stretch its wings and fly. You know, I felt the cloud shifting, which is such a wonderful metaphor for when we move through life, you know. But it was so refreshing, which is kind of interesting. I think that's something else I want to unpack tomorrow. You know, I could feel the sunlight, and then I could feel the green, the vibrancy of the vegetation and the mountains draped in their beautiful lime green. I felt that just beaming up towards me. Everything was connected, and I was tapped into it all. And it was the most beautiful surreal high without it being hypo, if you know what I mean. It was just amazing. Brings me back to my last point. I was having a session with a potential coach and mentor who I'm looking forward to stepping in with, and I will talk more about that on a different live. And we were talking about what was anchoring me. And I realised that I had a judgment on anchors because I was feeling anchored over the last couple of weeks. So this is just kind of evolving as I talk about it right now. And yet, what is the word that I have used so often throughout this life? I've been talking about anchored in my heart. So there's something more there for me to look at. But I have also, this has given me a brilliant reframe on being anchored. So, you know, and I've had a judgment on being anchored. You know, I've thrown the anchors out and I'm not moving forward. But I was, you know, just like I was today, paragliding. I might have been twirling. I'm going to be calling it twirling now rather than revolving. I'm going to channel my inner bird or my twirling dervish, and realize that I'm going through an ascension process. And I always do say that it's an expansion process, but I'm going to add in the ascension, right? Because that's how we evolve. And that's the fundamental of quantum physics, you know? We equilibrate through experiences, right? And so that's the whole evolving process. All right, I've chatted a lot. I would love to know what resonates with you. Let me know. And I hope you get some takeaways, because these are just life-changing reframes and ahas and analogies for me. And so I will be stepping forward into the rest of my life with this. And I will be making sure that I remind myself of this every time I go somewhere different. I'm going to be looking to do some paragliding or something to the equivalent, so I get to fly like a bird. And remember, fly, the acronym, for the love of you, fly. Get the wind beneath your wings, trust your intuition, anchor yourself into your heart, and remember, revolving is actually a form of evolving in ascension. All right? And step into that wonderful courage zone, because the more you do it, the greater your courage zone expands, which is wonderful, because then your heart doesn't even skip a beat when you go and do these magnificent things. It's just awesome. All right, big love to you. I'm glowing. I'm vibrant and alive, and I love it. I love being in love with life. It's the most beautiful space to be in. So I hope you can feel it. I hope you can get a little bit of it. I hope that I can inspire you to want more of it. And, you know, if this does resonate with you, then let me know. Or if you think it would resonate and help someone that you know, then please share it with them, even if you do it privately. You know, we've got to amp up the ripple effect, because, you know, if we keep doing the same, no different, yeah, we stay stuck. And that's the other point, that sometimes we come back to the same spot, you know, but that doesn't mean that we're repetitious or that we're back where we were, because we're at a higher ascension level than when we left. All right? And we've had a totally amazing experience that you've probably extracted some learnings and wisdom from, and it's probably opened your heart and mind and soul. All right, that's enough for me. Big hugs, big love, big glowing energy. I'm bathing you in it. I'm marinating in it. And I'll catch you tomorrow on Hopping on Live 365. Thanks for tuning in. See ya. Bye.